You know what the most expensive thing in the world is? It's not a penthouse in Manhattan. It's not a private jet. It's not even that overpriced coffee you buy every morning. The most expensive thing in the world is a story you tell yourself about who you are, a story that keeps you exactly where you are. Let me ask you something, and I want you to be honest with yourself. Have you ever looked at someone wealthy and thought, they're not a good person? Have you ever caught yourself believing that rich people are somehow morally inferior, that money corrupts, that the path to wealth requires sacrificing your integrity? Have you ever felt almost proud of not being rich? If that hit a little too close to home, then today's episode is for you. Because here's the uncomfortable truth that nobody wants to tell you. There is a form of narcissism hiding in plain sight, dressed up as virtue, and it is quietly, systematically, preventing you from building massive wealth. I'm calling it the narcissism of poverty, and until you recognize it, name it, and break its grip on your psyche, you will never escape the glass ceiling you've built with your own moral ego. Today, we're going to expose the moral ego traps that keep you small. We're going to dismantle the stories you've been telling yourself about money, about wealthy people, and most dangerously, about yourself. And by the end of this episode, you're going to see exactly why your moral superiority might be the most expensive thing you own. Are you ready? Let's go. The hidden narcissism. Let's start by talking about something uncomfortable. When we hear the word narcissism, we usually think of the wealthy elite, the arrogant CEO, the entitled trust fund kid, the influencer who can't stop posting selfies. And there's research to back this up. Psychologist Paul Piff conducted groundbreaking studies showing that as people grow wealthier, they're more likely to feel entitled, to become less empathetic, and even to cheat. Wealthier individuals were more likely to take candy from children, fail to yield to pedestrians, and believe that greed is morally good. So yes, wealth can breed narcissism. But here's what nobody talks about. Poverty, or more accurately, the identity of poverty, can breed an equally dangerous form of narcissism. Let me explain. Psychoanalytic theory describes the narcissistic core of the ego as something that must be continually recreated because it's susceptible to depletion. In other words, our sense of self-worth needs constant reinforcement. We need to feel special, different, superior. And when you can't build that superiority through wealth, status, or achievement, what do? You build it through moral superiority. Think about it. If you can't say, I'm better because I have more money, you can say, I'm better because I have more integrity. I'm better because I don't sell out. I'm better because I'm not corrupted by the system. I'm better because I'm one of the good ones, unlike them. This is what researchers call moral egoism, the tendency to view your own beliefs, attitudes, and actions as morally right and good, regardless of their actual content. It's the psychological mechanism that lets you feel superior without actually having to achieve anything. And here's the kicker. This sense of moral superiority is itself a form of narcissism. Let that sink in. The person who looks down on wealthy people as morally bankrupt is engaged in the same fundamental psychological operation as the wealthy person who looks down on the poor. Both are using comparison to prop up a fragile ego. Both are creating an us versus them that reinforces their own sense of specialness. Both are in their own way saying, I am better than those people. The only difference is the currency. One uses money, the other uses virtue. Now I want to be really clear about something. I'm not saying poverty itself is a choice or that people in financial hardship are narcissistic. Absolutely not. Economic inequality is real, systemic, and deeply unjust. What I'm talking about is something different. I'm talking about the psychological attachment to poverty as an identity. I'm talking about the person who has the capacity to build wealth but doesn't because, on some level, they don't want to be One of them. I'm talking about the moral ego trap. And if you're feeling defensive right now, that's actually a sign that this is hitting home, because the ego hates being exposed. It would rather fight, deflect, or justify than admit it's been running the show. But here's the thing. The ego doesn't care about your bank account. It cares about feeling superior. And if feeling superior means staying poor, the ego will choose that every single time. So the question is, whose side are you on? The moral ego traps. Let's get specific. What do these moral ego traps actually look like in your daily life? Trap number 1, the money is evil narrative. You grew up hearing it, maybe from your parents, your community, your church, or the media you consumed. Money is the root of all evil. Rich people are greedy. You can't be a good person and be wealthy. These messages get internalized. They become part of your identity. And when you internalize the belief that wealth is morally corrupting, you create a psychological barrier between yourself and financial success. Because subconsciously, you don't want to become the villain. So you sabotage yourself. You avoid opportunities. You undersell yourself. You give away your value. You stay small because staying small feels morally safe. Trap number 2, the I'm not like them identity. This one is subtle but devastating. You look at wealthy people and see everything you don't want to be: materialistic, shallow, out of touch, selfish. You define yourself in opposition to them. I'm not like them, I'm real, I'm authentic. I care about what matters. On the surface, this feels like integrity, but psychologically, it's an ego protection mechanism. By defining yourself against wealth, you create a safe identity that doesn't require you to actually pursue wealth. And here's the painful truth. Defining yourself by what you're not is still defining yourself by them. Your identity is still caught up in comparison. You're still letting wealthy people determine who you are, just in reverse. Trap number 3, the struggle is virtuous fallacy. This is perhaps the most insidious trap. There's a deep cultural narrative that suffering is noble, that struggle builds character, that the good life is somehow less meaningful than the hard life. Bertrand Russell called this the superior virtue of the oppressed, the belief that the downtrodden are morally better beings, and this belief has deep roots. Throughout history, poverty has been romanticized as a virtue and wealth as a symbol of debasement. But here's what happens when you believe this. You start to fear success. Because if struggle is virtuous, then success, especially financial success, must be corrupting. You unconsciously avoid wealth because you don't want to lose your moral standing. You stay in struggle because struggle feels righteous. And so you remain stuck, telling yourself you're taking the high road, when really you're just taking the easy road, the road that doesn't require you to grow, to change, to become someone new. Trap number 4, the they don't deserve it projection. This one is pure ego. You look at wealthy people and judge them. They didn't earn it, they got lucky, they exploited people, they don't deserve what they have. And on some level, this judgment serves a purpose. It lets you off the hook. If wealth is undeserved, then there's no point in pursuing it. If wealthy people are corrupt, then you're better off not being one of them. If the system is rigged, then your lack of success isn't your fault. It's a perfect psychological defense mechanism. It protects your ego from the uncomfortable possibility that maybe, just maybe, you could have done more. You could have tried harder. You could have taken different risks. But as long as you can point the finger at them, you never have to look in the mirror. Research actually shows this dynamic plays out in the other direction too. Studies have found that poor people are judged as less immoral than wealthy people for the same moral violations. We have a bias that assumes poverty is somehow correlated with moral goodness and wealth with moral corruption. But here's the thing about bias. It cuts both ways. When you assume wealthy people are morally inferior, you're not just judging them, you're closing a door on yourself. You're saying, If that's what wealth means, I don't want it. And the universe, as they say, honors your wishes. The real cost of moral superiority. Let's talk about what this actually costs you. First, financial cost. Every time you turn down an opportunity because it feels too corporate or too commercial, that's money leaving your pocket. Every time you undersell your services because charging more feels greedy, that's wealth you're leaving on the table. Every time you avoid learning about money because it feels dirty, that's financial literacy you're denying yourself. And this isn't just about the money itself. It's about the compounding effect. Small decisions made consistently over years create massive differences in outcomes. A 10% discount you give yourself because you feel guilty charging full price, compounded over a decade, is a six-figure loss. Second, psychological cost. Living in moral superiority is exhausting. You have to constantly maintain the narrative. You have to find evidence that you're better than them. You have to dismiss or explain away any success you see in others. This is what psychologists call cognitive dissonance, the mental discomfort that arises when your beliefs don't match reality. And resolving that dissonance takes energy. Energy that could be going into building your life, your business, your future. Third, relational cost. When you judge wealthy people as morally inferior, you close yourself off to relationships that could help you grow. You reject mentors, partners, and opportunities because they come wrapped in the package of wealthy. And here's the irony. The people who could actually help you build wealth are often, surprise, wealthy. By judging them, you cut yourself off from the very people who could accelerate your growth. Fourth, existential cost. This is the biggest one. When you define yourself against wealth, you're living a reactive life. Your identity is shaped by what you're not, rather than what you are. You're letting others determine who you are. And that's not freedom. That's the opposite of freedom. Real freedom is being able to choose wealth without feeling like you've betrayed yourself. Real freedom is being able to pursue abundance without guilt. Real freedom is knowing that your worth isn't determined by your bank account or by your lack of one. And here's the thing, you can't build massive wealth from a place of guilt. Guilt is heavy. It slows you down. It makes you second-guess every decision. It prevents you from taking the bold, decisive action that wealth requires. If you're carrying guilt about money, about success, about selling out, you're carrying dead weight. And you can't run a marathon carrying dead weight. Breaking the ego traps. So how do you break these traps? How do you dismantle the moral ego that's been running your financial life? Let me give you a framework. Step 1. Separate money from morality. Money is a tool, that's it. It's not good, it's not evil, it's neutral. A hammer can build a house or destroy one. The hammer isn't moral or immoral, it's how you use it. Money is the same. The idea that wealth is inherently corrupting is a story you were told, a story you internalized, but a story isn't truth. So start questioning the story. When you catch yourself thinking money is evil, ask, is that actually true? Or is that just something I was taught? Step 2. Separate identity from comparison. You are not defined by your relationship to wealthy people. You are not them. You are you. And here's a radical idea. You can be financially successful and maintain your integrity. These are not mutually exclusive. The idea that they are is another story, a story that serves the ego, not you. Some of the most ethical, generous, values-driven people I know are also extremely wealthy. They use their wealth to create impact, to support causes, to build things that matter. Wealth doesn't corrupt character. It amplifies character. If you're generous with nothing, you'll be generous with something. If you're selfish with nothing, you'll be selfish with something. So the question isn't, will money corrupt me? The question is, who am I really? Step 3. Reframe struggle. Struggle is not a virtue, it's a condition. Sometimes it's necessary, Sometimes it's growth-producing, but it's not inherently good. Being poor doesn't make you a better person. Being rich doesn't make you a worse one. If you've been romanticizing struggle, it's time to let that go. You don't need to suffer to be worthy. You don't need to stay small to stay good. Step 4. Practice self-compassion. This one is crucial. The moral ego traps we've been talking about didn't appear out of nowhere. They came from somewhere, from your family, your culture, your experiences. They were survival mechanisms. They helped you make sense of the world. So don't beat yourself up for having them. Don't judge yourself for being caught in them. But do recognize that what helped you survive might not help you thrive. The strategies that protected you in the past might be holding you back now. And it's okay to let them go. Step 5. Take one small action. The ego loves abstraction. It loves talking about things without actually doing anything. Because as long as you're just thinking about change, you don't actually have to change. So take action. One small action that moves you toward wealth despite the discomfort. Charge what you're worth. Ask for the raise. Start the business. Make the investment. Have the conversation. Feel the discomfort. Do it anyway. That's how you break the trap. Not by thinking your way out, but by acting your way out. By proving to yourself through action that wealth and integrity can coexist. That success doesn't make you a bad person. That you can be both wealthy and good. Pause. Every time you take an action that contradicts your old story, you weaken the story. Every time you choose abundance over guilt, you strengthen a new identity. And eventually, not overnight, but eventually, the new story becomes the default. You stop seeing wealth as the enemy. You stop seeing yourself as not them. You just see yourself as someone who's building something real. And that's when the real growth begins. So here's where we land. The narcissism of poverty isn't about being poor. It's about using poverty as a moral identity, a way to feel superior without having to achieve anything. It's about the ego's desperate need to be special, even if that specialness comes at the cost of your potential. And until you break that trap, you will never build the wealth you're capable of, because you'll always be holding yourself back. You'll always be sabotaging your success. You'll always be choosing moral comfort over financial growth. But here's the good news. You can break the trap. You can separate money from morality. You can separate identity from comparison. You can let go of the story that says struggle is virtuous and success is corrupting. And when you do, something remarkable happens. You stop being defined by what you're against and start being defined by what you're for. You stop reacting to others' wealth and start creating your own. You stop judging and start building. You stop being small and start becoming who you were always meant to be. The ego will fight this. It will tell you I'm wrong. It will tell you that you're different, that your situation is special, that the rules don't apply to you. That's the ego's job, to keep you safe, keep you small, keep you exactly where you are. But here's the question I want to leave you with. Are you going to let your ego keep you poor? Or are you ready to break the trap, build the wealth, and become the person you know you can be? The choice is yours. It always has been. Thank you for listening to Mind Goals. If this episode resonated with you, share it with someone who needs to hear it. And remember, the only thing standing between you and massive wealth might just be the story you're telling yourself. It's time to write a new one.